Hiya, and welcome to the Wise Yourself Up podcast. I'm your host, Carla McGreevy, and in today's episode, we're celebrating the very first birthday of the podcast. Okay, you couldn't write this. Emma, who is the podcast manager, is probably like, have you picked the worst setting you could get? I look like I'm recording from prison, but I'm actually recording from Lenadoon, my mummy's house in Lenadoon. It's just the way everything has fallen. And if I don't get it done today, it's not going to get done. So there's no special balloons or any of the nice things I would have liked to have done. But sure, it's more about the content, isn't it, than all those frills, eh? I should have got a birthday cake. I will get a birthday cake. I will get a birthday cake and share it at the retreat this weekend. So actually, I'm going to write that down, get cake. Always a good excuse to get cake. I'm so delighted. I can't believe it's been a whole year of recording this podcast and growing this community and connecting with you all. It's been honestly such a delight. It brings me so much joy. So thank you so much. But before we get into, I'm just going to share a bit about how the podcast came about, how it was named, all that sort of, the stories are actually good crack. It's not boring stuff. I'm so glad that you enjoyed the last episode, which was devoted to my granny. I got some gorgeous messages from you all, and thank you so much. I know death and loss is so hard to talk about, but I feel it's so important. And for me, I'm so grateful for the stories that I heard that helped me process my grief. And it's something that's getting lost in our world, is stories of death and the hard stories like that. And it's so important that we do share and talk to each other. So I'm so glad that it has offered something to some of you. What have I been doing since I last recorded? I think, definitely my granny's anniversary is always hard and it brings up so much. And when you're in those first years of grief, it's something new that you're navigating, isn't it? So I think that was definitely present with me the past while. And I've been studying away, loving the material of the course, and it really connects with me, everything I'm studying with. And do you know when you read things about healing and they just resonate with you as true? And yeah, you have the research to back it and all those things, but there's some things that are difficult to digest. And there's some things you're just like, yeah, you just know in your bones that it's true. And I really feel that about Gabor Mate's work. And one recent thing that he taught was sleeping as a defense mechanism. And that's definitely some of you have messaged me saying that's what you do as well. And basically what that is when it's too painful for the body to remember, it just goes to sleep to help cope with what's going on. And I don't know, so I feel like I didn't sleep that long. And don't get me wrong, I was always a 9 o'clock bedtime girl. But in COVID, I used to wake up full of beans, bouncing out of bed, which hasn't happened the past 2 years. And now I love my 10-hour kips and can happily lie in bed. And I think as someone who always struggled to lie in, I'm really grateful for that. But I think it's all our different experiences is why we have a different relationship with sleep and lie-ins and getting up. And it's so different for us all. I have been writing a new course, which has been so exciting. And I have been teaching women's courses since 2018. So 6 years I've been teaching and working with women in a group setting, because that's what heals in groups. That's where I have done my most healing, and I really believe in it. And that's why I started to create these, because I really believe every woman should be able to access this and encouraged to participate in that, regardless whether they want to become a yoga teacher training, because that was my first taste of it. And yeah, this course is very different. It's definitely going deeper. It's very specific, but I really feel like finally, and it takes years of research and working with women and the growth I've had and the studying that I've done too, combined with that, I really feel this is my best creation yet. And I'm so excited to share it with you all. Now, I'm Do you know, I'm sure you all know the crack. You know, you have to write your dream client and all this when you have a business and when you have a service. And basically, my dream client is someone who resists healing in every hard road, who's basically went to therapy, feels like it hasn't worked, struggled to get to the root of it. And that was definitely me. And I've said that before. That's why I definitely feel I do have a gift. And it's because I was hardwired to resist healing in every way possible. I don't know if it's just coming from Ireland, and you know, like that culture of Irish people tend to be, oh, sure, healing's a little shite, isn't it? And therapy doesn't work. And it's just not part of our world. It's so new to our culture. And predominantly, like, don't get me wrong, I work with a lot of different women who connect with this identity, but a lot of the women are Irish. Yeah, so I help women. So I've been really getting clear on who I help. Women who try way too hard to heal. Over efforting has gotten them so far in life and they just don't know how to stop over efforting. They have a real fixing mentality, which for me definitely came from a low self-worth. So you always feel like you have to be fixing things and making things better and always being of service and always working on yourself. And this is not healing. This isn't the energy of healing at all. And it's breaking down that resistance and really surrendering all those old ways of being, which definitely have gotten a lot of this so far, but it's what's stopping us truly being happy and loving ourselves and being content. No, this isn't the easiest people to work with, but it's the people who bring me the most joy. And it's just my calling. I just know it in my bones. What is the crack with me in London? I'm delighted. So Erin, do you all follow Erin? I'm sure you do from follow. And if you follow me on Instagram, you know who Erin is, the girl from Liverpool who is a stunning mover, stunning person inside and out. Really lives her philosophy of evoking love. And I've been so focused on studying that movement has been a bit neglected, or even though I've started my dance class, which I'm loving with Beth, I have a wee friend to go with, which is great. And it's always better when you have a mate to go with. It just makes everything 10 times better. So Erin's back in London, which I'm delighted with. And I'm definitely going to ask her to come on the podcast, so that hopefully that'll happen soon. But I'm also scared for the social calendar, which I'm sure you all are too. It is busy right up to Christmas. And this is my first Christmas at home in 2 years since my grandparents died. I've decided to run away the past 2 years. So this year will definitely be emotional, but it'll be nice to be home for once. So I know for some of you, it's for your first Christmas without the person you love, and I'll be holding you all in my heart and so close, and I'm always here to talk to. And it's always good to not suffer alone and to reach out and to ask for help, because people just don't know, and you have to learn to ask for help. So yes, I'm scared for my social calendar, and the whole, because I could say I'm not going to drink, but I probably will drink, but I'll try not to drink too much. I had a dip. Do you remember Katie, who was on the podcast, the neuroscientist Katie from Cork, my new best mate? I went on a date with her. We went to the ponds, which was 10 degrees, which is 2 degrees colder than the water here. I didn't have my gloves and boots, and my gloves and boots will be coming back to London with me because it was difficult. There was a wee woman who was very nervous about me. I think she looked at me and was like, she's a screamer, which she's absolutely right. I am absolutely a screamer. And she was like, no, you can't scream. And I was like, what? You can't scream? So she was trying to get me to be very ladylike and enter in the water. So her advice was to go in, swim from steps to steps. So you're barely in a minute and out again, and then you get in again. And we did that 3 times. Katie went a wee bit further out. My body wasn't coping so well with the cold as Katie's, and we're all different at different parts of our menstrual cycle and different things. But oh my God, I felt amazing after. And yeah, so encouraging is to get in the cold water. I'm definitely going to do an ocean dip Then I'm home in Belfast as well. And the ocean is much kinder to you. The salt water isn't as cold in your body, and the waves and just that energy definitely helps. And you can move so much more in the ocean. So I'm having a great time with women. I have lots of gorgeous women in my life. The dating men's not going so good. But sure, I recorded a podcast with Maria, the hormone coach, was just going to be out soon, which was gorgeous. It was lovely to record in a studio in Belfast. So that was very exciting. And I've been eating all around me, which is you do when you come back to Belfast. So I've had a Chinese. If you live in Belfast, you need to get a buffalo hot chicken wrap out of Mason's. I'm going to Villa Italia tonight for my brother's birthday because my family only go to the one place. And it hasn't changed since I was 18. It hasn't changed in 20 years. Same menu, the food's exact same. I think some of the same staff right there, exact same design. Belfast likes its comforts, doesn't it? And I'm going to see my friend's babies this weekend, as well as hosting a retreat, which I can't wait for tomorrow. I just can't wait to be immersed in nature. It's so nice to feel like you're connected to space. So can't wait to take that big breath with everyone tomorrow, and then the breath work in Studio 52 on Sunday. So the story of how this podcast came into existence, I had ran away to Bali to do an embodied flow training and a somatic psychology training with Tara Judea, which was 6 weeks long, 6 days a week. We were in class from 7 a.m. until 5 or 6 p.m. Now that is intense. You meditated for an hour and a half in the morning, and then we moved for 2 hours and then studied the philosophy and the science and everything in the afternoon. And so it was an incredible experience, almost psychedelic without any of the psychedelics. And in that course, I think, I don't mean to be like, it's not that I had the hardest life or anything, I'm not saying that. I resisted it so much and I was over efforting, trying too hard, and I had just lost my daddy and my granny within a year at this stage. And my daddy had only passed 4 months. So in the September he passed, and I was at this course in the 3rd of January. So I was very, vulnerable at this stage as well. So it was really difficult. And so some people were like these ray of light and having all these connections to love. And I was like this dark cloud being trailed by the hair through this experience. And so even though I was a dark cloud, he was suffering. I mean, I suffered a lot in that course. I made life so very hard for myself. And yet I think I offered a lot of humour in typical Irish way. And the way I broke down the material or communicated, Tara and the rest of the girls really enjoyed. And Tara said, you should start a podcast. And that's when I decided to move to London as well, which I had never considered before. And so, these whole spaces of sitting with yourself and being in a group of women, they connect you to your path. They connect you to what you're meant to do and where you're meant to go and all the things. And so, yeah, the podcast was implanted in my brain from there, from Tara Judell. Tara Judell is a phenomenal woman, yoga teacher, somatic movement therapist. So if you don't follow Tara, definitely do. So that was planted in my brain, and I definitely had, that Irish complex of, who do you think you are? Fuck, she thinks she knows something. She thinks she is somebody, blah, blah, blah. Sure, who's she to do anything? All that story in your head. So I had all that. So I was really skundered. So the seed was planted in the January. I got home from Bali in the March, and I recorded my first episode on the 16th of November, 2023 in London, just before I was about to go back to Bali, actually. I can't even remember what the first episode was about. Oh, it was about how yoga. It was about when I first started therapy and things like that. So the reason why I felt to make a podcast was because I do feel I offer something different to the space in terms of being someone who I'm not presenting as this vegan, clean eating, I'm love and light person. I'm someone who loves a party, has a normal life, has a normal background. There is no such thing as normal. But I just wanted to present someone who loves the crack and who is also devoted to the path of healing. And sometimes I feel like it's very much presented as you have to be all or nothing to fit into this world. And sometimes maybe people feel like if they take drugs or they drink or they've had affairs or, that they're not loving, like that they can't join this world. And of course it's available for everybody, no matter who you are and what you've done and what you've been through. This works for everybody. And so the story of the name of the podcast, how that came about is the gig. So this is before I recorded the first one. I was obviously in the process of like, how do you make a podcast and all this crack. And Lauren Kavanagh, who I work with, was helping me with that. So obviously I had to get help because I had no idea about it. And I like to use my brain devoted to psychology and movement. I don't need to be taking up space with friggin' tech and all this shit. I know my limits and I don't need to tire myself out with this stuff. I'm not one of these people who try and do it all. I'm very aware this would cost me my mental sanity to work this out, and Lauren's gifted at this stuff. So I had a glass of wine and I messaged my friend Sarah Graham saying, oh, I'm going to start, because obviously with the glass of wine I had the confidence to tell someone. I was like, here, I'm going to start a podcast. And it was a text. It wasn't even a voice note. Too shy. And I was like, like your heart beating fast and being like, oh, what are people going to think of me? They're going to think I'm a dickhead. And Sarah wrote back, wise up. And my first reaction which was a reaction, it wasn't a response, was, she's a cheeky bitch. Thanks for supporting me. And I think I wrote that back to her. Thanks for supporting me, because I felt vulnerable saying, I'm going to make this. And she was laughing at me like, wise up, Carla. I was adding on the perception of getting over yourself. But my reaction was rejection, feeling small, and God, I was embarrassed. Probably felt shame. Isn't it mad you can feel shame about wanting to do something? And she wrote back, no, call it wise up. And then that's how it got called, Wise Yourself Up, which is a good wee story. And then the artwork is very special too. It's a very fabulous girl, Chloe McGill, who's actually assisting me tomorrow at the retreat. I started teaching yoga part-time, as working for Bacardi at the time as an account manager, looking after the north. I started renting a room in Stranmillis. It was a guy, Ajay, who, when I used to go to Tony and Jen's, how everything is connected. I used to go to Tony and Jen's. It was like a healthy eating cafe on Lisburn Road. That's how I met Ajay. He told me about the Stranmillis Belfast Boat Club. And he's like, you should rent a room there. I rented the room for £20 an hour, I think it was, it felt expensive at the time. I don't know, because you're talking this back in 2017. And Chloe's mummy's a yoga teacher, and she liked my vibe on Instagram. And Chloe at the time was struggling with anxiety. And Chloe came to my yoga class, and she came every week, and she did my first women's course in 2018. And she's still in my life now. And she is a yoga teacher herself. You can go to her classes in East Belfast, and John Gray's studio is at Barefoot and Soul is the name of that studio. So I'm like trying to fit everybody in who's connected to this. I don't know what Chloe McGill's yoga name is, but I'll put it down below. As well as she has Sparky McGill is her art page. And I asked her to create the artwork. So that was how the artwork came about. So I just love that really important women are involved in the creation of this. And I picked Lauren Kavanagh to work with because her name is Kavanagh, which is my granny's maiden name, my great-granny's surname, my great-granddad's surname. And that's also how I selected my first therapist, was because she was called Kavanagh, who I still work with to this day, 10 years later. So that was a whole tongue tie there, wasn't it? If you've been listening this far into the podcast, first of all, thank you so much. I just love the gorgeous community that is building with this podcast. I wanted to interrupt just to say that if you're feeling stuck and you feel like you're going around in circles with your healing journey, it can be a sign that you are too much in your head when it comes to healing. The body communicates 80-20 to the brain, and that's why a bottom approach works best, which is what I offer. The body and breath are the true vehicles for change. To breathe is to feel, is to heal. So if you're ready to finally truly love yourself and listen to what your body is trying to communicate to you, I offer online one-to-one therapeutic sessions to help you to do this. In the sessions, we work together using breath work, somatic movement, to help you move through any resistance you're currently holding and to help you get to the heart of what your body is really trying to tell you. And that's where I come in. I can help you see where the body and the mind are telling two different things. And it's to remember that the body always tells the truth. So if you're someone who's really ready to go all in on your healing journey, head to the link in my show notes to apply to work with me one-to-one. Okay, let's get back to the episode. So the hardest episode I ever recorded was, and it's probably the most viewed episode, was the episode about being in a relationship with someone who had an addiction to heroin. And I got backlash from that from a friend who's a man. And, you know, he felt like it was maybe my story to share. And I feel I tried to protect his identity as best as possible. And the episode really wasn't about him. The episode was really for me. It was for the younger me. It was never judgment on someone having that addiction, but the realities I did share of addiction. And then the naivety of me thinking that I could love someone better. And at the root of it all was my trauma. As much at the time I believed that I loved someone who I was just so concerned with their addiction, it was all about me. And that was the point of that episode. And that's what I wanted to share. And I feel it's an important message for anyone else who's in a relationship with someone in addiction. What is being revealed in that about you? Because it's always about you. And that was the first question I ever got asked by a therapist when I started having a relationship with someone in addiction. Yeah, so I created the podcast to talk about really hard things, and I try and bring humour to it because the Irish only heal through humour, as well as being sincere without taking away from the emotion of the matter is my intent. Whether I do that or not, you can only be the judge of that. I also disclose around sexual abuse, which I never thought I would ever do. And I did that to help people who feel that talking about it would never help. I see it in people who are holding something so big inside, and it causes them so much tension, so much disconnection from themselves. And for me, I was so unaware of the cost of it. And obviously, you know, things have changed in the 10 years. God, what age was I? 27, 28 when I first started to get help and really want to look at it. I never wanted to look at it. I wanted it to die. I wanted it to not be true. And I know a lot of you, whether it's about sexual abuse or something different, that you identify with that energy. And I'm so grateful for anyone who has messaged me. And yeah, it's so important that I hear from you and know how this material is landing. I see it in people too, how dense it makes their bodies. And that's nothing, it's mad. I experience that through working with bodies, that it doesn't matter how much muscle they have, their weight. I can feel it. I can feel when someone's holding on to something that they're not talking about. And I know that from feeling it in people close to me who I know their past. And then it's just through the 10 years of, it's been close to 10 years of working with bodies. I'm confident in that skill, but I have no right to your past. I just hope that in time, when you're ready, that this plants a seed, just the way the podcast seed was planted in January, that this seed may be planted in you today. And it may take a year, it may take 10 years like it took me, or it was 20 years it took me from when the trauma happened me to go to therapy. It doesn't matter how long it takes. But I hope the day comes where you can tend to that wound and there's no judgment in the time it takes you. We all get there in our own time. I hope this podcast does bring a different angle to healing and it offers something different in the space. I feel like I am a different person to what you would normally see in the healing circles. And I just wanted to give a girl who's from a council estate in West Belfast, who'd have thought it, talking about healing on a podcast, I do feel proud of that because there isn't as many working class voices in this space, and I'm glad to be one of them. And I'm from a single parent family, brought up with my grandparents. I think that's why I feel like I have a right to take up space, and we all have a right to take up space. So maybe I'm just waffling in circles. It's very hard to talk about yourself in this way, but it's hard when you're trying to explain why I'm doing what I'm doing as well. And I think this is what I'm going to finally share is like a lot of people, for me, and it's probably different now, my bias and my skew is very different now. There was a lot of people making it like it was so fucking easy. I was like, this is hell. This is getting trailed through broken glass by the hair. And everybody's like, oh, just go and heal. You know what I mean? And, I felt like I wanted to share how impossibly hard it was for me, for anyone else who finds it impossibly hard to keep with it, because I'm someone who isn't full of love and light and positivity. I'm someone who's like, this is fucking shite. What's the point? But this work, the methods of breath work, connecting with strangers, yoga, the work of Gabor Mate, other people who have influenced me, such as Tara Judell and the other great teachers, Michelle Kavanagh, Tara Brack, their work has saved me. And I'm going to shout their work till the day I die. And the work has given my life meaning and helps me through incredibly dark times in which I question why life is the way it is. And not that I've been through the darkest times, but I listen to people who've been through unimaginable things. And you wonder why the world is the way it is. But they are able to connect the love and light again. And that gives the miracle of life, the miracle of this world, and keeps me committed to this work and committed to talking to each other, and that there's hope for everybody, no matter what you've been through. And I really believe that. And that's one of the quotes of Gabor Mate, is that everybody has the ability to heal. No matter how impossible it seems, everybody has the ability to heal. And to really believe in that and really believe in your own ability to heal, no matter what awful, dark things that should have never happened to you happened. And also, on the opposite, because we live in a time of duality and holding both parts, there's going to be people in your life that won't heal, that have been through too much due to their own unique experience in this life. And everybody's life is so different and so unique that they won't heal. And that's just the way some people's lives are. But a big lesson for me is, can you accept them and love them as they are? And I remember a teacher saying to me, in the moment that you aren't accepting them, and it's okay to want more from them, right? It's okay to wish that someone could get better, and that they are addicted to substances and that's the way they are coping through life, that they're addicted to looping of really critical, negative thinking, and that's the way they're coping through this life. You put the boundaries in place to protect you and where you can love them at a place that doesn't harm you. And that's a process in itself. And for someone in my life, I've definitely got that space where I can accept and love them. And yes, it is painful, and I do wish that things could have been different. But also, that's what my teacher said to me. In that moment, I'm almost judging them because I'm not accepting that. I was lucky in a way that I could access these tools. There is a privilege in that, absolutely. But the fact that I had private health insurance through my first job that paid for a year of therapy, that made me connect to the benefit of therapy. And now I see the value in spending the money. Because I know a lot of people will spend, £80 on a dress, but not spend £80 on therapy. And that's your choice, absolutely, if you have. And it's so unique for us all. Not everybody has that disposable income. But most people who I work with do, or who I speak to do. And it's whether they can connect to that benefit of investing that money, which can be really difficult if you haven't experienced that. What my teacher said, and going in a really long-winded way around this, is that I'm judging that person in that moment if I don't accept them and love them as they are, because they didn't get the opportunities I got in life as well. You know, of course, it takes the person to do the work, but not everybody gets the privilege and the opportunities. And if you're one of those people who do, I beg you to take it. Okay. So finally, because I gotta go, and also a big thank you to Emma, who is the podcast manager. A big thank you to Lauren Kavanagh and all the guests who've been on, who have a big influence on this podcast, who keep the chaos that is me recording. As a gift from us to you is a one-to-one session with me. You can have in person online. All you need to do is leave a comment below, and yeah, that's you entered in. This podcast is going out on the 20th of November, and the winner will be announced on the episode the week later on the 27th. Yeah, we're only giving you 3 days to enter. So there you go. That is all for me. Thank you so much for listening, for any messages you shared, for sharing with any of your friends, anything at all. This is an absolute dream for me to do. It brings me so much joy. I'm so grateful and thankful to you for listening and for all the people I've mentioned in this episode. And that's it. Have a gorgeous day or night or whatever you're doing. I'm sending you so much love and take such good care of you.